Welcome back to the Zero to Here podcast. I am your host, Denny Dumas. Producer Carl, how you doing, buddy? I am doing very well. Just got back yesterday from the sun in California. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can see that I'm now extremely tanned. I actually look like I'm a different race than I used to be. But I'm happy to be back and podcasting again with my buddy, Adam Senuik, our guest today.
What's up, everyone? Denny forgot to mention he's got a new beard as well. Gave that baby a trim. It's been a while.
I'm looking slightly less homeless than I did a week ago, which may or may not be a good thing, but we're going to try it out this week. Adam is the newest realtor on the Garbutt Dumas real estate team, and he's got a lot going on right now. He is a full-time residential realtor, got his license in June of 2018. He is an aspiring musician, as you'll see from his Instagram videos, and he's one of the coaches of the newest senior and junior men's football team, and they have a big game coming up this weekend, and we'll get into a little bit about that. Adam, I'll let you describe yourself a little bit here. So I ask all my guests to describe themselves in 3 words. You can go off on a little bit of a tangent and say a little bit more than that, but describe yourself in 3 words.
Motivated. 3 separate words. Yeah. Motivated, warm-hearted, and authentic. Really, those are my aims.
Okay.
Those are my aims.
What makes you motivated?
To live a life that I truly enjoy, and just to live a life that's worth living, and something I can, when I'm a grandpa talking to little kids, something I can be proud about and feel good about.
Where a life worth living, where does that idea come from?
I think that just comes from, I am always motivated. I am always motivated to accomplish something. Like, I don't like really sitting down watching TV. I want to be doing something that's taking me somewhere. And I think that's just kind of, I've found how I'm wired. I kind of juggled a little back and forth like through the years of if it's a good or a bad thing. And I've had to teach myself to calm down sometimes, but it's just kind of how I'm wired that I want to be doing. And yeah, I would just way rather be doing that than be passive doing nothing.
Okay.
Not sure exactly what it is. Still trying to figure it out, but I've just owned it now. I've accepted it.
I like that.
Yeah.
Part of owning it, being authentic, and that was one of the words that you used. Where does that come from? Why is that something that's important to you?
I grew up trying to be what I'm not. Like, I grew up really thinking that me wasn't right, and then I had to figure things out. I had to like figure out how to dress. I had to figure out how to act. I had to figure out how to be around people. And then I hit a point, and it was really through my previous business where I really, that's where I found honesty is the best policy. And if you're just super straight up, open, honest with everyone and everything, everything becomes so much lighter and easier, because you're never trying to trace back what you're trying to be or who you're trying to be in front of who and juggle all that. Like, the second you shed all that and you are just you, everything's so much easier, because like you don't have to remember things. Like, you just be you in the moment, and things all really flow really lightly from there. So yeah, I think it's I haven't always been that way, but it is something that I have caught on to in the last handful of years, and I've felt the difference. And just, yeah, like, light is the best way to put it. Like, everything just feels lighter when you are you. And I really find that you attract your type of people when you're that way.
Yeah.
And when you're trying to be other ways, you attract other types of people. And then it's that continuous cycle of trying to keep up with whatever face you're putting on.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're just you attract your people, and it all grows from there.
Was there a trigger that pushed you to that? Because I have a pretty similar experience growing up, like trying to fit in, was never really the cool kid. Like, sports was more important to me than being social and going to parties and that kind of stuff. But there was a trigger for me that kind of pushed me. I kind of got sick of trying to adapt myself and my personality to others. Mm-hmm. And so there was something very specific for me that kind of pushed me out of that. And I'm just like,
what was that trigger?
Let me do it. Terrible. Well, not terrible. There's ups and downs, but a bad relationship.
Yep. Yep.
Was there a trigger for you?
Yeah, there was. I grew up thinking that every authority figure and every adult knew everything and I knew nothing. And
That's what they want you to believe.
Yeah, right. And I really bought into that and hung on every word and started to discount my own thoughts and beliefs and just totally go all in and bank on what my authorities, be that a coach, a boss, a teacher, or whatever.
Yeah.
And go all in on just believing what they have to say and shaping myself around it. And it was after shortcoming after shortcoming of like doing well, but not getting where I really wanted and just conforming to what other people were telling me I should be, and not ultimately getting what I wanted, that eventually I hit the point of being like, well, why don't I try just doing me and like just try doing it my way? And it really did all flip during the my previous business, of the painting business, and that ties into the into what we were talking about before too, just being authentic and open and honest, because I just found in that when I stopped trying to be a salesman and say all the right things and have this scripted pitch through like my sales presentations and just be me and deliver the message that needs to be delivered however I deliver it, that it all worked out. And I carried that through that. I was lucky. It's an entrepreneurial thing, so I had freedom in my lifestyle, and I really just got to build my day-to-day. And it is something that, again, like, yeah, it's funny enough, leaving a relationship is something that really opened the door for that too, because that's another thing that I was really molding myself to fit into. And I lost touch with a lot of things that were really close to my identity. And then once I was out of that, I really did get that clean slate to really control my day-to-day. Even though I had a business, I still had someone else who I was really weighing their time priorities over mine. And once that was gone, it totally opened the door to just, holy crap, like I literally have all day, every day under my control, and I choose how it goes, and it all changed from there. So like I say these things, and it's not like they are an all life from birth until now. That's who I've been, but it has been a journey and just a kind of growing path that I'm going down, and that I'm happy I'm going down, and I'm just excited to see where it keeps going.
It's a pretty cool feeling, eh?
Super cool.
And looking back and just being like, what was I doing at that point? Like, why was I putting up with this stuff? Because when you finally make that realization, you're just like, I think you said freeing, or like a weight off your shoulder. Light. Yeah. And it totally is. Waking up in the morning and being in complete control of what your day is going to look like. And
knowing that you can, like, not like, we're not here saying that you can't be in a relationship and like you can't have those things. But it's just like really holding true to what those things are that make you tick, and making them a priority, and being authentic, and then finding that person who that fits with. Because you can keep all those things and still be with someone else and spend a lot of time with someone else, but they should understand what those things are, and you should too, and you should both make sure that's a priority for both of you, because they're going to have their own things as well, right?
Relationship advice from the youngest person we've ever had on the podcast.
Let's go.
Okay, 2 reasons I wanted to have you on today. Number 1, because you're a big Seahawks fan, so I wore all my Seahawks gear.
Not.
Just for you. And I thought you were going to wear your Hawks t-shirt too, but...
no, sorry. Did not pull it out of the garbage can today.
Maybe next time. The real reason why I wanted to have you on, most of the people I've had on are entrepreneurial types. They are 3, 4, 5 or more years into their business. So they've kind of gone through the struggle and have got out of it. And now we're kind of looking back and talking about our experience. The reason I want to have you on is because you are at the beginning of a new career. And I thought it would be pretty interesting to give your perspective on what it's actually like to go through the grind while you're in it, type of thing. So we're going to get into that kind of stuff. But first, I even from the first time I met you, I could tell that you were a very motivated guy that would do well in self-employment. Whether you want to use the word entrepreneur or not, I don't really care. But let's say entrepreneurial type, where does that come from? For me, I look back and I think sports definitely pushed me there. Sports built this competitive nature that now has resulted into business, or gone over into business. but where upbringing, sports, where does that entrepreneurial type of mindset come from?
I think it's a mix of the motivation we touched on earlier, and just always want to be doing. And then also touching on the authority figure thing. Like growing up, I did not like being told when, how, who, what, when, where, why with everything I had to do. Like it was more like, do this, do it. Like not micromanaging everything. In school growing up, my favorite thing was problem solving and math, but I did not want to do it the way they tell me. I would get the answer, and I loved that. Like I loved being like, here's the problem, what's the answer, figure it out. And they'd give you all these steps, and I get why you need to follow those and this, that, but like I wouldn't want to, because I would just want to figure it out my own way. And I just feel like, yeah, just self-employment, entrepreneurial, whatever you want to call it, allows that freedom where it's like, here's your job, this is what you need to accomplish, here's you, go do it. And it's a big reason why I joined this team too, because I did feel like I knew the culture, and that there was going to be that freedom where you weren't going to be breathing down my neck, making me sit in an office, do whatever. It was more like, do your job. And that's what I wanted. And I really, I still don't, it's funny because like, you're my boss, but like, it's not kind of
we're
right?
all self-employed,
right? Yeah, exactly. So it's funny because like I once I had a taste of it, I never thought that I would go back to not being the total runner of it. But like, I'm so happy to be part of this team, because that's really what it is, right? Like we're all doing our thing within the team with a common goal in mind, and I can totally thrive under that, because I just totally have the freedom to do things my way on my time, and that's usually quick and in a way that I think is effective and efficient, and like I'm not here to waste my time or anyone else's. So yeah, I just think having that freedom, it's something I've always wanted to have, and having a self-employment opportunity, I really fell in love with it and never wanted to look back. And even though, like we said, you're a boss, whatever, I still feel like I totally have that. So
for sure,
that's why I'm here.
A couple things you commented on there that I want to touch on. One was growing up having a problem with authority. I was the exact same way. And I used to even like tell my mom when she told me to do stuff, I was like, if you tell me to do something, I'm going to do the exact opposite. If you ask me to do something, I'll do it. And I tell that to people that I'm in relationships with, friends, my mom, and I'm the exact same way. If someone tells me to do something, I'm just like, screw it, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. It just totally changes the whole vibe of it. Totally.
For sure.
Yeah.
Second is just like being part of a team in our industry. Our industry is different than a lot of industries because you're self-employed, but you're working with a group. So I don't know. There's definitely pros and cons, but with us, you obviously in real estate, you're still self-employed. But one of the big things for us is wanting every individual on our team to build their own personal brands. And so that's something, obviously, I think that you're probably seeing that too, is that we're like very heavy into encouraging everyone to do their own thing. And a couple people on our team are doing really well, and then others are kind of like just getting it started. But that's a big thing for us, is that everyone has their own personal identity, but we're under this like team environment, which is cool.
And that I actually was just talking to my sister today, because my whole family's out of town, so I'll have weekly calls with them, and was talking to her, and she was just asking how work was going. And that's one of the things I touched on, is I was like, things are really good. I'm really pumped. It is totally a grind, and I didn't share all the tough times with her, but just touched on one of the reasons why I'm all in is because I totally feel that with the team, where it is totally a team that's trying to build up each other and just build the best people out of everyone. Like some things I've been a part of, whether it be teams or companies, whatever, I felt like, people wanted me to do well so that it would make them money. It's not like they necessarily wanted me to have my best life. Whereas I do totally feel that here. So, and it's a nice change, and I don't think it's all over the place. And it's nice to have that with people around you, because entrepreneurial self-employment can be really isolating and really difficult on your own, especially in those hard times. So it's good to get both the support through the tough times, but also the uplifting through just the normal times, to try to get that extra bit out of you.
Getting into business. So Adam, for those of you who don't know Adam, Ran a painting business for 4 years?
5 years.
5 years? First of all, why painting?
So that's funny how that happened.
It's not a glorious
oh no,
business.
It's gross. It's gross. So my neighbor I grew up just outside Edmonton, and my neighbor is a general contractor, and my first vehicle, I got in a little crash. It was one of the first days of snow. We got a lot of snow there, and I decided to be the cool guy and try to drift. And I drifted right into the curb and threw out all my alignment in the vehicle. And I'm just I don't know, grade 11 kid, no money, and I got to fix it. So I told him, and he's like, well, just come show up on a job site and I'll get you to work. And it started from there, and I was just doing all the grunt work you could imagine, just like everything no one wanted to do. And one of my favorite lines from him is, as I was digging all day, like an 8-hour day of digging and just sweating my balls off in the heat of the summer, he shows up and he's like, oh wow, you did really good. I'm like, oh yeah, thanks. And he's like, there's this tool that I could rent. He's like, it would have had this job done in a half hour, but you're way cheaper. Just walks away, right? And so it's one of those jobs where like I learned every trade, but it was total just grunt work. He started as a painter, grew to a contractor. It's what he trained me the most in, and by the end of it, he was just contracting painting jobs out to me.
Okay.
So when I moved out here to go play football and go to school at UBC, I wanted to stay here during the summers. Like I didn't want to move to Vancouver and then go back to Edmonton during the summers. I wanted to be here. So I needed a job, tried working in a kitchen at Joey's, the worst 2 weeks of my life.
2 weeks? That's all you lasted?
I did 2 weeks. I put in my 2 weeks notice. And it was apps. I was doing apps, like appies on the all covered in grease. And so that wasn't working. And then I was like, okay, crap, my skills painting. I just looked for jobs, and I found a job as a painter for some student painting franchise. And my interview, actually, I guess I had a really good resume because the manager I interviewed with, I found out later, because he's a good friend of mine, was scared shitless to interview me. He was like, I've never come across an application this good. And so he brought the regional manager to interview me. And right away, the regional manager pegged me as a guy. He's like, you could get into management. And I was like, okay, well, I just want to paint. Like, I just want some money. And so I did. And they really did groom me and try to like push me throughout the summer to the next year, take that step and run my own franchise. Yeah. And I did. And it went really well. I got National Rookie Manager of the Year, was promoted to district manager the next year. So I was actually hiring other managers and training and mentoring them on how to run their business. So it really, like, it came from working for my neighbor doing grunt work. So I totaled my car, and then that led me into running my own painting business. And like, we still laugh about it whenever I talk to him. That totally directly led me to where I am here with the real estate, because Jamie, the other team owner, he used to do the same student painting thing back in the day, and he knows how directly it transfers being self-employed, marketing and doing sales with residential clients, managing them. And then you also have to staff. Like at max, I think I had 12 painting staff and 10 marketing staff. Yeah. Staffing them, managing all of that and everyone's issues with 100 clients in a year as well. And so he understands what that takes and how well that transfers here, and how this is actually just a lot more glamorous and enjoyable because you're not managing a job site. And there are parts of it that are glamorous, but other parts that are not. Yeah, totally.
For example, a client called me this morning. She moved into a house 4 or 5 months ago, and they've been having water issues in the basement. So a lot of our job is putting out fires, which is not a super fun part, but what social media shows and what the public think is that it's very glamorous. Drive nice cars, selling $1 million, $2, $3 million houses in Vancouver. But there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that is not all that fun. But I'm sure with painting, it's even more not that fun stuff.
Mm-hmm. Especially because all it is like every client just sees it as an overpriced pain in their ass. Like, it's not an enjoyable, like, some people are like, oh, cool, my place looks new, and they're excited about it, but most people aren't. And same for the employees. Like, for me, the real turning point to not glamorous was when I took it from a summer job where I was hiring mostly students, because that was really motivating. I was legitimately giving them a good job. They're making more money than they'd make almost anywhere else. It was an enjoyable culture for them. Yeah. And the second I graduated and took my business full time, and I was just hiring the lifer painters, and the demographic totally switched from your college student as a summer job to your 55-year-old who's been painting his whole life and is, really struggling with some things. It just totally flipped the dynamics of my day-to-day and the types of fires I was putting out then. And yeah, it took a lot of the enjoyment out, because I did get a lot of just intrinsic good feeling out of providing good work for good people. And I felt like that was gone. And then I hit a point where I was like, why am I doing this? Like, I didn't feel I was doing that. I didn't feel like I was providing any purpose other than paying my own bills and my overhead that I was running up. So, I totally hit a point where it was like, okay, I need the next step. And it's funny enough, that would have been in the spring of 2017. And it was a real down point where I was just so ready for the next step, but it was too good to just up and leave. And I hopped on Instagram last November, about almost a year ago to the date. And like a week after I hopped on, Jamie reached out to me because, we had known each other for a few years previous. I was in the painting business and stuff. And he reached out to ask how I was going, asked me about a few numbers. And next thing you know, we're talking about me joining on the team. So it was good to see how it all worked. And it is funny when you ask how it all started, because like it really just started by just doing. Totally. Like I had an opportunity in front of me, and I never thought I would do anything business related. Like I planned on being a teacher. I'm from a family of teachers. My degree is human kinetic major with a psychology minor. I just learned business from the School of Hard Knocks from doing it. Just taking opportunity, doing it. And then that's led me to where I am here. So it's funny looking back, and if I was back there and anyone told me I'd be living in Vancouver doing real estate as I was growing up in small town Sherwood Park, I'd say you're crazy. And because I still don't identify myself as either a businessman or a salesman, even though I very much so am and have been for years. Like that's the last thing I identify myself with. And like I actually cringe when I think of that as me, just because it has a different image to it. Not that there's anything wrong with either of those things, but it's just not me, and it's not who I feel I am. Entrepreneur, I can jive with, and I can do with, but businessman, salesman, I don't feel like it's me at all. Because even when I'm doing sales, I'm not selling. I'm just talking and telling them what we have, what they need. Mm-hmm. Does it match up? Does it not? I don't know. But
I had a similar experience professionally with not necessarily loving what you do. And so when I was working for my dad at pubs, I was managing a couple of them. Mm-hmm. And like, I always had this feeling of not fully believing in what I was doing. So like, I didn't necessarily believe in the business plan. I didn't necessarily believe in the type of product that we were putting out. And so it was really hard to stay motivated through those things, which is part of the reason that I got into real estate. And it's just like such an eye-opening experience to be able to wake up and do what you love every single day, and how much more motivated I get every day because of how much I love what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And so I think similar to you just kind of ran into a point with painting where you're just not in love with it.
Yeah, and it was my day-to-day directly at the franchise, and I was in upper management with the franchise too. And mm-hmm. From day one, I was just polar opposite from our president and how he wanted to run it. And I love the dude. And if he's in town, we'll go for beers every time. Yeah. But business wise, we could not be any more different. And we just, I would always have polarizing thoughts on how we should do things. And we were marketing to university students, like to recruit them, because I played a big part in our recruiting. And we just have, the crustiest marketing where people are looking and they think they're applying to, you would think you're applying to be a painter, but it's actually to run a business and be an entrepreneur. And love the guy, but we just differed on so much. And I just got the sense that he had a system that was getting him what he needed. He had been doing it since like 91. Life's good. So he didn't really have a big need, but I just couldn't accept complacency, and I saw room for innovation and growth, and a few changes did happen under my push, and they were really good, but far from as much as I would have wanted to. So I just felt that very handicapping and just negative and frustrating for myself, because I wanted to make that change and see that growth happen, and it was just like, no, don't need it. And
the cool thing about entrepreneurship is there's no template. Mm-hmm. Your style is going to be different than the guy you were working with. Your style is going to be different in real estate than mine. Yep. but that it works for every individual because there's so many different type of people out there.
Totally.
You run into so many different personalities in our business now that I could never see myself being like, but it works for them. So a lot of, and I've said this, I say this all the time, Carl. People think of realtors as used car salesmen.
Yep.
And I like that you said you don't identify yourself as a salesman, because neither do I. I don't think, even getting into real estate, I was like, can I do this? I don't think I'm that good of a salesperson. Like, I'm not aggressive. I'm never going to like try to shove something down someone's throat like I assumed a salesperson would be. Yeah. But after being in it for a few years, I see that that's not the way that you succeed in this business. And I see myself more as a customer relationship manager.
Yeah.
So basically providing information, walking people through a process, and literally just being available at all times to answer questions and provide info. And so it's cool, after being in the industry for 4.5 years now, that I've seen that what I thought it was like is completely different than what it actually is like, and who I am fits this industry really, really well. Yep. When coming in, I thought I needed to try to be something different.
Yeah. And yeah, that ties in with what I was talking about before about authenticity, and when I connected with that, and it was through sales, like finding that sales isn't the pushy, the making people think things and pushing them to decision. It's gaining their trust. Totally. So that they do trust your word, so that when your word then says, hey, I think this is the best option for you, they honestly believe you. So it's not, and just people can tell when you're full of it and when you're not, and just when you're being real with them, and they do appreciate that, even if it's not the message they want to hear right away, because eventually you will have the message they want to hear and it'll all align. But if it's not the right situation, like, who are you to force them into that just to make your check that much quicker, when you can wait a couple of weeks and wait until the true good opportunity comes, and then they'll take your word for it and they'll be quick to jump on it, and it'll all be effortless and smooth. You force them, and there's going to be buyer's remorse, or it's not going to be good, and problems are going to come down the road, and it's just not worth that, a couple of weeks, because you just want it done now rather than giving it the proper attention and care that it needs.
Short-term versus long-term. Yeah, always talk about this.
Hundo.
Carl, we should start our own hashtag. Adam's hashtag is going to be crusty. And mine will be short-term versus long-term.
Yeah. Touching on the crusty too is like, that's the thing when I was mentoring the other guys running the painting business, the other university students, like, I would tell them that there's a million ways to skin a cat, because like the president would get up and give this presentation, or another one of the district managers, and they'd be like, yeah, no, we just send out mass flyers. They're these little, like, you can't imagine, like probably twice the size of our business card, black and white piece of loose leaf paper that has like free painting estimate, call here. And they would send those out by the masses. I would want a nice designed double-sided door hanger that you order and get shipped and put on their doorknobs so they see it, and it's got a good finish to it. It's glossy, like high quality, and with a message showing them what you're about and separating you from the pack. And we would both give those pitches, but I would always make a point of looking to everyone in the room and just telling them, like, there are a million ways to do this. They're successful, I'm successul. There's no right or wrong answer, no right or wrong formula. It's not like math that way. Yeah. It's about finding what works for you. And one really good thing I learned from Jamie is he said, he was like, find the activities that you enjoy doing and that work, and go all in on those. For sure. Like, you can build a list of 100 different ways to market, and they're all going to work in their own way. But which ones really align with you? Which ones are going to keep you motivated to keep doing them? Because it's easy to do something, go balls to the wall on it, and then hate it, and then keep pushing yourself through it because you've seen results. But yeah, just really finding the things that really align with you and are still effective, and then going all in on those, because then you don't really ever get a drag out of it. It keeps you uplifted and motivated.
I want to be a little bit more specific about running the painting business, because it's a pretty unique experience that you had that most people in their early 20s don't. Running a business, managing people, bidding on projects, etc. So I've got a list of things like, and I guess the question would be like, what did you learn about this from running the painting business? But I guess one thing would be prospecting. Like, obviously it easily correlates into the real estate world. But what things did you try that didn't work? What things did you, like you were just talking about, what things did you enjoy that worked for you?
Ultimately, prospecting, I learned it's a numbers game.
Yeah.
And that you find your vehicle and you get the numbers out. Like, as my business grew, and you know, there are different people with different methods. Like, we had some managers who, I was in my 2nd year, they were in their 7th year, and I was beating them in sales. But you look at those same people, and then they hit their 10th year, and they literally tripled like that, because they were very just customer service orientated, referral orientated, and it was just a slow grow, but their quality and their product was just top of the line, but they weren't business orientated, like they weren't numbers orientated on the marketing side. So they'd run at a smaller level, but everyone they came across was just over the moon happy with them. And there was just this slow build where you're looking at them and like, they're good at what they do. Like, why isn't there growth? And then there was just that tipping point, and it just took off for them. And I was so happy for them too, because I knew that they were doing good work, and I was hoping they'd see the rewards from it. And whereas me, like my growth path, it just went from first year did X amount of business, and that was solely on me delivering flyers myself and me knocking on doors myself. I had enough work to keep one crew of 2 painters busy for the 4 months of the summer, and that was my goal, keep one crew busy. The second year, I had enough money to hire 2 to 3 marketing staff, and my goal was to keep 2 crews of 2 busy, so 4 painters, and I accomplished that. Then the next year I had 6 to 8 marketing staff, and then the final year I would have 10 to 12. And it was just, as the numbers of things I was putting out grew, so did my business. Yeah. And it wasn't like, yes, I was better, and I was better at the sales. I was more confident, and I was winning some clients that I wouldn't have won in my first year. But the leads I was getting and like the prospecting results I was getting was solely based off numbers, not who I was. Maybe the flyers were a little cleaner, but like that doesn't make the big difference at the end of the day. It really is a numbers game. And like we said earlier, finding the thing that you like that can get results and go at it. Like I heard someone who totally built their business off of Instagram DMs, and it took a while for it to pay back. But like, she told me that she was just neurotic about it. She would spend literally 6 hours of the day just on Instagram, DMing people, selling her own. She does makeup artist, and just reaching out to people, letting them know what she's about, this and that. And it took a while until she got anything out of it, and then it was boom. And you know, she's got 10,000 whatever, like genuine followers.
How long ago was that she did that?
I think it took a year and a half that she saw like big results. And now,
was it a while ago though?
Yeah, this would have been a couple years ago.
Because Instagram has, I don't know if you know this, Instagram has a cap on how many DMs you can send a day.
Oh really?
And how many likes you can like.
I know there's a like cap.
So when I got into it really heavily, like, I don't know, 9 months ago maybe, I would just like pick a hashtag and like go through and like hundreds. I don't know what the cap is, maybe 200 or something like that. But you get capped, and it's like you can't. I've been
capped on the likes.
You can't like doing that. What do you mean? I'm not hurting anyone. Why can't I like people's photos?
But I like it. Yeah, let me like it.
But they have a DM cap too.
Yeah. Okay.
I've never hit it, but I don't know if it's like 100 or whatever it is a day.
Well, I think it just times out a bit. Like the likes just time out temporarily. It's not a full day thing, but
I think it's 24 hours.
Okay.
So I can't remember, but it's happened to me a number of times.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck.
So it was probably before that. But yeah, she would just go ham, and you know, that was her method, and it just goes to show that like whatever it is, results are to be had, and different forms of marketing are going to get you different results. Like door to door, you're not like, you're going to get immediate results, but they're few and far between, because lots of people aren't home. Lots of people just don't want to talk to someone at the door or do business at the door. But if you do get a lead, you're talking to them right then and there, and you can make serious action right now. Whereas other things like flyering or sending out letters, you could get more, you could get less response. The response could take 2 years. Like I literally had people call my painting business, and they had a flyer in their hand from 2 years ago. and it's just like, you never.
Sweet that they kept them.
I know, right? And you wouldn't expect it, but it does happen. So it's like different forms. Yeah, they all just have different ways of return, and you just want to know what your needs are. If you need immediate results, then go heavy on the ones that are going to get you some immediate results. Those will keep you busy for a bit, and then you can open it up to some other means that might get you some more long-term gains. But just big believer that it's numbers, and it's typically good to have a multi-pronged attack where it's not all in on one thing, but you're not spreading yourself too thin either by doing everything. So for me this year, it's been kind of a bit of tasting everything and doing everything and really finding exactly what that niche is. But that's been fun in itself, kind of restarting that process, because a lot of the things are very similar, but a lot of things are very different as well.
Totally.
What I was doing.
We'll get to real estate soon.
Yeah.
From the painting business, what did you learn about managing people and hiring?
I
knew this would be a good one.
People are flaky. That's what I learned. Hiring is hilarious. It's like I would book a day of 10 interviews and like 6 show. That's a good day. And no notice, like no one being like, oh, sorry, I'm not going to make it. Like even if they let me know last second, just I'm not coming. Cool. But no, just like no show after no, like, so it's pretty funny. And like, luckily I was pretty like hard-headed through it. Like I never let it beat me down too much, because I know people who have, and they get really discouraged from it, but that just is what it is. But for managing people and hiring, I find that if you hire people that you truly respect, and you don't have to respect everything about them, but like find something that you really like about them, and you'll be really motivated to do the best for them that you can. And I'd always, that was my be all end all, because painting is not a difficult trade. Anyone can apply to be a painter tomorrow. You don't need any licensing certificate, anything, experience. Anyone can do it. So you get everything, and it's not hard. Most homeowners can do it. They just don't have the time, or they don't want to. And so it wasn't a matter of finding all these requirements within a person for, oh, this is a painter. Like, great, if they're 6'7" and athletic, awesome, but not everyone is. And Carl over here. And, you would have been great. And for me, it was really like one of my biggest questions actually for every one of my interviews I would end with is, tell me something you're passionate about. And that was usually the, am I hiring you or not question.
Yeah.
If it was a, I like watching TV, or like I hang out with friends. Like it was like, no, if someone was like, oh, I love poetry. Like I do slam poetry and this and that, blah, 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 blah. And like they got something going on.
Yeah. Like
I'm in. And like, I know that they show that they can be motivated about something. They can like something. And if I make it enjoyable enough for them, like I feel like they can go in on it. And I just respect what they're about, and that they're going after something, and that motivates me to make it better for them. They feel that, and they just work better for me, and it's just a big payoff. So rather than finding like, I had plenty of employees that lots of other managers, like when I showed up to training, they're like, that person is a painter. It's like, fuck yeah, watch them. Like come by the end of the summer and like let me know how they're doing. Like they're like, I would be confident, and those are the people that would always work out. It was and there are lots of people who would have all the experience in the world of painting. They've been doing it for years, and those are often the worst hires, because they would think they knew it all, and they wouldn't be great, and they would come with a whole bag of issues. And I would way rather take a clean slate with a good quality person who you might not look at and be like, this person's a rock star, but you kind of find something in them that you really grab onto and respect, and run with that. And I found that did the best for me, because like I said, it motivated me to do good under them. They felt that, and they gave it back.
My last one on the list was how to keep people motivated, but you basically just answered that there. So let's move on to real estate.
Cool.
So like I said, Adam got his license in June, has been working with us since. So I thought it'd be a pretty cool perspective from him to kind of get while he's going through his first year. Start with your first 5 months. Maybe just give me a quick little summary of anything, things that you like about the industry, things that you don't like, any surprises that you've had, etc.
I really like that I'm doubling down on dealing with people. Like that's the part I really enjoy, and what I was doing previously, it didn't have anything to do with the painting of houses. I don't think many people are too passionate about that. But I did enjoy that I was just getting out there in front of people and dealing with people and managing people and whatnot. So I've really kept that, and I've shed the more monotonous things like the job site, this and that, and equipment and issues with that. And so I've really enjoyed that and doing it in a more mature way where I feel more respected. Not that I wasn't respected before, but it was just, this student paying franchise. And now I do feel like there's a different feel around me with the people I'm dealing with because of what I'm doing. And it is taken a little more seriously. Honestly, the biggest, one of the really enjoyable parts is one of the toughest parts, and that's starting from zero. Like, I had 300 hard clients with my painting business that I did business with, and I had 3 times that I did estimates for. And taking that client base back down to zero, like, I'm going to touch base with a lot of those people in the new year after, I have some time under me, so I'm not approaching them fresh out of the gates, asking for their business again. But so some of those will trickle back, but really totally going to client base is zero after having a big client base. I was at the point with my old business where I was just getting referrals called in. Like, I could have paid my dues, like paid my life through referrals alone, like calling into me, people asking for business, and I cut ties with all of that and start from total ground zero and get back to the grassroots stuff. Like, I hadn't delivered flyers or door knocked for 3 years and I'm back, right? Like, I totally outsourced that, where I paid my dues before, where I did all of that, and then I got to the point where I could hire all of that, and I'm back doing all that again. And it's cool to get some of those same feelings again, that you get through the grind, but it's really cool knowing now that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Because with the painting business, I was just motivated under the fear of failure. And it was like, I'm taking this on. I'm not going to fail at this. I'm going to put everything into this so that it's impossible for me to fail. The worst case scenario, I'm like just slightly below average, and like put in everything I can to just make that happen. And now I don't have that same fear of failure. I'm just really motivated to push through the shit, like, because I understand that there is time, and nothing, no one just walks out the gate and is just a total rock star real estate agent and has all these clients and all this business, and you really need to work for it. And it's a compounding thing that it's just, it's grind, and then things hit in steps more than they do linearly. Like, it's not like every day things get better. It's just like you go, and then like 1 week you just take this massive step up, and then you go, and then eventually you're up again. And I'm just really motivated to get through the crap as fast as possible. And I feel like it's on a path, and I've totally felt tangible steps along the way, where I go from like not having much to respond to having a lot to respond to, not having, active clients in the base to having active clients in the base and deals happening. And so although it's been a short amount of time, there's been a lot of growth, and that's just really motivating to keep going, because I know I'm far from the point I want to be, and I'll probably never be where I want to be, but it is just really motivating to get through the crap. And most enjoyable, it's a weird thing, taking like 10 steps back but actually really enjoying it at the same time. And it is just totally different, because at least I've been through the growing process before, so that I have a lot more confidence, and I try to hang on to those same bits of fear of failure. And it's more so now like fear of not paying bills rather than fear of failure. But yeah, it's cool to have that in you again, but with a new sense of confidence and a new sense of faith, and just belief that doing the right things day in, day out, and having a plan and sticking to it should work. Like, it has for me before. And so I've at least seen that I have the things in me that can lead me there. And it's just a matter of executing them properly and with a decent plan in place and sticking to it.
You said getting out of the crap.
Yeah.
One of the things I want to talk to you about your first 5 or 6 months is the biggest challenges or unknowns coming into the industry that you've faced. So your definition of crap, meaning like what is the day-to-day shit that you're going through that you need to get through?
Honestly, it's just building up clients. Like that's really it. It's just like getting activity to the point where things are steadily flowing. Cause it's like, yeah, I'll have a few on the go and I'm all in on it. And I feel like I'm doing a good job with them, but I know that I could carry more, and it's just trying to build up more so that I am at the point where I'm like, okay, like this is what I can handle. Like this is good. I do feel like I'm able to get more, and it's just a matter of getting there so that I can and doing the prospecting, doing the work and taking good care of the people I am dealing with so that they, speak well of me to others, and then that brings in more business. So it's not as negative. Like the biggest challenge for me was just my driver's license suspension. My Lord. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You forgot. I didn't. To touch on that, since December of 2017, I got a notice in the mail. I had 2 distracted driving tickets, electronic use. I was at a red light looking at a GPS, and like, I say that on my mother's grave. I was at a red light looking at a GPS both times, not driving through a playground zone texting. But those are high risk offenses, and I did have one excessive speeding. No. And in last December, I got a notice that my license was going to be suspended, and I appealed it right away, claiming that I could not execute my painting business with that. Like I straight up couldn't. I'm job sites all day, moving around equipment. I'm doing estimates all day, house to house. Like I literally could not do my job and not pull in an income with that. And I did the one appeal, and I sent it in the end of December, and I didn't hear back until March. Now at this point, I was most of the way through. Okay, the hardest part of real estate was everything leading up to it. Cause so March hits, I get the letter back, and they're like, nope, the appeal didn't go through. Here's your suspension. They didn't mention in the fine print that your suspension hasn't started yet. You need to sign that letter and mail it back, or a police officer has to identify you, and then he'll serve you and deliver you your suspension. Then your suspension starts. So I talked to 6 lawyers that day and ICBC twice, and it was my second time talking to ICBC that she was like, you're not suspended yet, as I'm like cooped up in my apartment, afraid to leave. And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, yeah, you need to sign that notice, or a police officer identifies you. I was like, wait, so I can drive right now? She's like, yeah, but if a police officer runs your plates, like you're gonna get served. I was like, but I can drive right now. She's like, yeah. And so I was like, okay. So then I hired one of the lawyers I talked to who seemed to know what he was talking about, to put together a better appeal for me. Mine was just a couple of pages, me writing up. I had 4 character references in there, varying from employees to kids I coached and employed and drove around, to mentors, to a friend who is a police officer, and I'm DD for a ton. So then, we send this in, a 10-page report. I thought it was really good. And that was in March. I get my real estate license it was like June 5th, and I was driving hot that whole time. The lawyer told me that's what it's called, driving hot, riding dirty, whatever you want to call it. And I get my real estate license June 5th, June 10th, Sunday, driving out to shadow an open house with Sean Campbell, a realtor on our team. Police officer runs my plates, pulls me over, gives me the notice. He like right away, he's like, hey, I have a notice from ICBC. I just got to look into this. And I told him right away, I was like, hey, I'm appealing a suspension. Like it's in the process right now. Anything you need from me, like I can explain anything, whatever you need, like I'm here. I basically knew I was screwed and tried playing the nice guy as much as I could to get in his good books. And he comes back, he's like, hey man, your record looks clear to me. You seem like a good guy. I have no choice but to give this to you. Like a big alert popped on his screen, and he gives it to me. So like here I am feeling like sky high that I'm finally licensed as a realtor. And touching on like what I said before about all the crap being before it, is not only did I now have to start my being a realtor with this, but my start to being a realtor was super delayed as well, because Denny and James did the licensing years ago, and the process has totally changed. And so we thought I would start the course in January, be licensed in April, and I would get going. And when I get going, that would be a decently hot market in April, and that would carry through for a few months. Also, when Jamie reached out to me in the November previous, the market was really strong out here. And it's like right when I started the course, the market just starts to slow down. I find out that instead of starting in April, I passed my exam as soon as possible, but I passed it in April, and we all thought I could start working. But then I found out that there was an applied course I had to take as well. So that all dragged out. And instead of starting at the start of April working, I was now going at the start of June. So it got pushed back. The market's slower. Financially, I planned for it to start April, and now it was starting June in a bad market, when like the peak of the market had gone down and the market as a whole had gone down. And now I finally get through all that crap. And 5 days later, my driver's license gets taken away, and I was just like, "You've got to be kidding me!" And it was just like instant. I didn't have a second to feel bad. Like I didn't have a second to feel bad for myself, and right away, my mind instantly just went to, what do I need to do to make this as least impactful as possible? First thing is accepting being on the bus 3 hours a day, because I live in.
That's it. I thought it was longer, more than 3
that was
hours
the minimum. 3 hours is the minimum. That was the minimum. So yeah, I was living in English Bay, which is in the core of Vancouver, and all of my life is in New Westminster. That's like a 40-ish minute drive and an hour and 20-ish minute bus to SkyTrain to bus. And that was day in, day out. Like I did not have an income since the end of December, and we were in June, and now I'm allowed to make money, finally, pushed months back, and now I can't drive as well.
Just for the record, in busy season, I'm probably in my car from 8 a.m. to like 8 or 9 p.m. So not having a car is a pretty big deal in this industry.
Yeah, sure is. Sure is. Let me just have a drink of this beer. So, I would say that was it. And especially like not only just the overall pain in the ass that it is to not have the vehicle, but like my whole marketing was based off of it, because what led me to my most success, and by the end of my painting business, I was just running off of delivering those like door hangers I was talking about. I had a few teams out doing door knocking. And then I would run huge teams of just fleets of, I coach high school football, and a lot of the players that I coach, they need money. And a lot of the kids that are at school, have some harder upbringings, and that little bit of cash can get them a long way. So I was happy to help a lot of them, and they helped me a lot too. And I would take them out in fleets, and six guys in my truck, load them up with the door hangers, and they would cover turf like none other. Like I would get a door hanger on every door in New West within a week or two. And that was my plan for marketing, was just hitting different areas with letters and different marketing material. And all these kids were pumped. They're like, we're getting back to work. Like Adam hasn't been working all spring. Like we can make money again. And that was just gone instantly. And I just had to retailer my plan and think of what I could do. And it just turned into doing everything I could do. Finding the things that were tangible with my means. I really focused on a lot of my online presence and getting a lot of that kicked off. So like my Facebook page, my Instagram stuff, and just learning that trade, because I could do a lot of that from home, and learning that skill and honing it in, and then just doing every real estate activity I could, and just totally accepting shutting out the rest of my life. Like, because I understood the sacrifice. It was like, if I'm going to be on the bus that long every day and that inaccessible to do things, I need to just like kiss a good chunk of my life goodbye for 4 months. Like it and I really did, like, took myself out of the dating game pretty hard. that was a time and money thing, I think. But then also yeah, like I also had my coaching commitment, and I know I had lots of friends and family who were like, oh, like that sucks, like you're not gonna be able to coach, hey? And I just looked them dead in the face, is like, no, I'm coaching. It's like, I'm not making my problem other people's problems, and like I'll own it, I'll eat the shit, but like I'm gonna continue doing the things that I'm accountable for and that I've signed up to do. So that's my job. That's the, you know, volunteer coaching, and outside of that, we'll see what else fits in there.
Gary Vee has a great quote, Carl. This is one of my favorite Gary Vee quotes of all time. He says, "It's your bed, or you made your bed, fucking sleep in it."
Yeah, totally.
So like, you put yourself in that situation, you made decisions to be in that situation.
Yeah.
Don't complain. Don't make excuses.
Yeah.
Get yourself out of it.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, like, I did commit those offenses that got me the driver's license suspension. Like, I have no one else to blame. Like, yeah, I was frustrated with the process, and I was frustrated that I never had a single person that I could get in front of to plead my case, and how long it took to come back. Because if I would have started my suspension in January, it would not have meant a thing to my life. Like, I was just taking the course. I cut off my business, and I was just studying the course, doing dick all other than that. And it's like, the second I need to be driving and doing things is the second it gets taken away. And so it was frustrating, you know, having those 2 appeals go from December. I didn't hear back from my final appeal until July 17th. And my first appeal I sent in at the end of December. And that was the official, like, oh no, buddy, like, we're giving you a hard no, like, sit out your time. Like, they knew that the suspension had already started. And it was basically a letter going back saying, hey, we see you started. You got to finish this out. Sorry, you didn't give us enough evidence to plead your case, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, that was the frustrating part, but none of me was just like, oh, the world's so unfair. It's like, I did the things that brought me here. It's up to me to do what I got to do to, like I said, make it as least impactful as possible. And yeah, eventually the day came where the suspension was over, and like, I wasn't even counting the days. I just accepted that I would never get my license back. And then one day it magically came back, and life was back.
Now, showing up to appointments and open houses on the bus has got to be a pretty big shot to the ego. Was there like a specific situation, or like 1 or 2 times that was like even more embarrassing than the rest?
I danced around it so well. I'm so impressed with myself. Like, I would it's not ideal, but like most clients, like if I had buyers, I would just set it up where I'd set them up on these searches, do all these things, and if they found some properties that they wanted to view, I just tried setting it up in a way to be like, hey, sorry, like, I'm busy doing open houses during the weekend, but here are some open houses for these properties. Have a look at them. If you like one, let's arrange a showing during the week, so that I could just show up and be there ahead of time at that property. And then once we're done the showing, I could like hide in the bushes for a bit. I'm not even kidding you. There was a few times where I would like, okay, see ya. I'd go like walk around the corner and just kind of wait for them to drive away, and then I could go to the bus stop. Like, so it's like, I promised to myself I wouldn't lie to anyone about it, but it never came up. I totally avoided it. I had awkward times of being on the bus, like holding open house signs, and just like, walking all around town with these open house signs, just me in a bag and those. And then, the only time it did get brought up with the client was with our out of town buyers that you helped me with. And that ended up just being hilarious because they were totally cool with it. They thought it was funny. And so next thing you know, we're driving around because like they saw like 30 properties in a weekend, and we're driving around just like screaming our heads off to metal music and just like having a sing along and stuff. And I was just sitting in the back. It was a pretty funny time. So that's the only time I had to break the ice with it, and they were totally cool with it, as I assumed most people would be. But yeah, it's a thing I didn't want to just put out there until it came my way, and just avoided at all costs, even if that meant hiding in the bushes, waiting for them to.
It had to be fairly embarrassing, Carl. This is gonna be hilarious because I remember one day you showed up to one of our realtor meetings or something, with open house signs in a garbage bag, and I was like, why are they in a garbage bag? And you just looked me square in the face, straight faced, and you're like, I had to ride the bus here, man. Like, oh, okay, you don't want anyone to ask you questions or being a realtor, riding the bus.
Yeah, exactly. So it was just a day to day, and it was funny. It's like I said, I just had to accept it and accept that it was never going to end. And then eventually, because 4 months is a long time. There's some dude who's like an accountant that works in an office, and he was crying to me about his month suspension that he just got served. And I just looked at him, I was like, shut the fuck up. Like, don't even, like, please. So yeah, because like a month is super tangible and like doable. 4 months, man, that's a while. It's a third of a year, and especially literally your first 4 months, 5 days into your first 4 months of a new career that's extremely driving based. Yeah, it was something else, but that that definitely taught me a lot for just like eating the shit. And I think it's good because like with the painting business, like I really, like I said, had that fear of failure and had that really, really, really shit. And I feel like this opportunity is different because like I am more so just fitting into a strong system that's already in place. And although I'm starting from zero on my own, I'm not really at the same time. So I almost am like a little thankful that I had that just to like bring me back to the bottom, like bring me to rock bottom and like really make me work my way out, because this is something that I know you and I have talked about before, but like I have this thing about me where I enjoy the bad times more than I do the good times. Like I've always had a difficult time savoring and really relishing in success. And some of my greatest accomplishments, I was so quick to be, okay, what's next? And on to the next. And it's in the lowest of times where like those are the ones where I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, like shit, yeah, let's go. Like I can feel the changes that are coming in me. I can feel the growth that like I get out of it. And I just have that long-term view of like, oh man, this is so shitty, it's so awesome. Like I am learning resiliency. I'm gonna appreciate things so much more when I get there. So it is this weird dynamic where like part of me was just like, how am I making it through this? Like I was really interested to see how I was gonna keep my job and keep paying bills and like keep doing all those things and just make it a day at a time, a step at a time. And yeah, I did make it. And then once I was done, it was just back to reality and back to real life again and being functional. But it was, quite the experience. And at the end of the day, I don't see it as a total negative. It's a funny story. And I got a lot of lessons out of it. And I am a better driver because of it. I'm a little more cautious.
Carl, have you heard that before? That, no, that negative... I like the negatives more than the positives.
Yeah.
I say that all the time. In almost every podcast I say that.
Yeah.
There's like a couple things that I always talk about. One is that adversity is 100% the key to my success.
Yeah.
Overcoming challenges. And this line that I always use, that I hate failures so much, but I love what they do to me.
Yeah.
So I feel like anytime I go through a challenge or like a really tough situation, personally, professionally, whatever it may be, I feel like I come out on the other side more motivated, more myself, and like just stronger for it.
Yeah.
And so I'm the exact same way that I love going through them is shitty, but I love what they do to me long term.
Yep. Totally.
Okay, last thing about the first year, and let's make this quick because we need to move on. The biggest sacrifices you've had to make. So for me, in the first year, one was definitely my health.
Mm-hmm.
I did not focus on fitness, health at all.
Yeah.
And the other was like diet.
Mm-hmm.
I just ate shit food all the time because it was cheaper.
Yep.
What are the biggest sacrifices you had to make in the first 6 months?
Ditto and ditto.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been
Give me some insight on it. Like what specifically?
Okay. So historically grew up being a football player who was very, very gym orientated. Like I was borderline addicted. Well, I was addicted to it, and I was just like a gym rat, and that was one of the big things that I felt set me apart, even though it wasn't. But like I was just huge into it and die hard into it, and always kept a big part of it. Once I stopped playing football, I stopped as much with the weights, but I still kept active, and I made sure I was still doing things. And then during the licensing process, where I wasn't quite as busy, I was still doing active things and like doing my own routines and keeping balanced and still getting core workouts and whatnot. And then as like that point hit, especially when the license went, like huge sacrifice, right? I was just like, I don't have time or energy to do anything active, period. And I really haven't since then. And I haven't gotten back into the swing of things, but like at the same time, I was walking a lot. Like I was
Get your step count
I was walking a lot, and like walking is good exercise. And so I did feel days where like my legs were very, very sore after. So like, and times where my heart rate was up going up hills and stuff. So like I was still getting my own ways of activity, and I coach football and I'm on my feet doing a bit of moving for that. So like, but in terms of formal with purpose exercise, I don't think I have not stepped into a gym since I've been licensed as a realtor. I've done, I think, 3 workouts once each week for the last 3 weeks with the team that I coach, because I'm supervising them in the weight room, and I'll do like a few sets of a couple things.
They're probably stronger than you now because you haven't worked out in 6 months.
Not a chance. Not a chance. Not even close. That stuff stays. But yeah, so that's totally a big one. Activity out the door. But that's also been like a life-changing thing, but like it's gone from really high to dwindle to like lowering to totally none. Yeah. So that's one. And then totally food. Like I just like,
what'd you eat for lunch today?
2 sandwiches from KFC.
I used to be the same, man. Like first couple of years, I'd trying to eat for as little amount of money as possible, right? So I'd like be like Wendy's daily deal menu or whatever.
That's all I get.
You get a burger for like $1.69 or something, whatever. Yeah. So I'd be the exact same.
The players I coach call me out. They're like, "Well, what did he say?" He's like, "Yo, you really stay on that Wendy's, hey?" I was like, yeah, man, this is a value menu. You can get, I get the 2 grilled chicken wraps because the grilled's healthier than the crispy, and they're like I don't know, $1.69, $2, something like that. Yeah. And I told him that. I was like, yeah, man, they're cheap. Like it's all I need for lunch. Like my daily diet consists of I make myself coffee in the morning. I have 1 multivitamin, 2 omega-3 6-9s, 2 vitamin Ds, and that's breakfast. And then for lunch, like my routine usually is I work through the day. I start coaching at 3:15, 3:30, and I'll whip by Wendy's, which is like my practice field that I coach at is literally a block, 2 blocks away from our office. So I'll do work throughout the day, usually pop into the office if I got to print anything or whatnot. Whip by Wendy's, grab 2 grilled snack wraps, eat them in front of the stadium, throw that bag out in the stadium garbage, and so the guys always see me walking in with my Wendy's bags. But it's literally like it'll be a 5-day-a-week thing a lot of the times. And then for dinner, a good old healthy dose of pierogies. Those are real cheap, and I'm Ukrainian, so super happy with that. Like that's not even an
bag
issue.
Of pierogies. I remember they used to always go on sale. At Safeway, like once a month or whatever.
Like, how can they even go on sale more than they are?
Because they're like $3.99 for a bag of like 40 pierogies.
Yeah.
But then it goes down to $1.50. And so I would be the guy in my first or second year of real estate with a cart, and I have like 14 bags of pierogies.
The savings are real.
It's unreal. Yeah. Same with chunky soups too.
Yeah.
They used to go from like whatever $3.50 to $1.50.
I only buy chunky soup if they're on sale. Only time.
I think. Oh no, they would go on for $10.
Yeah.
So I'd literally have 14 bags of pierogies and 20 cans of chunky soup.
Yeah. And just a big old grin on your face.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
embarrassing. But
totally living it. Like my usual dinner is like pierogies, pasta, or the frozen pizza. Like I have a no frills by my place in the West End, and They'll typically one type of frozen pizza will be on sale for $3 per pizza.
Exactly.
If it's the Delicio, if it's the DiGiorno or whatever, thin crust, like
there's some good thin crusts out there now.
They're really good. I liked them when I was actually, had a decent amount of money. I like them. So now it's just like by force. But those that would be the staple of my diet. And my mom's terrified. My mom was in town. My mom was house and dog sitting for my aunt this past month. She was terrified. She saw me, and like I just knew she was just like so worried for me. And I've had so many people come up to me. Like the coaching I do is all volunteer, and like one of the moms, like she sees me and she's talking to like a wife of another coach, and they're like, Adam, are you okay? I'm like, in what way? And they're like, are you sick? I'm like, no. They're like, you look sick, like you lost some weight. And I was like, oh no, I'm just in my first year of real estate. And they're like, are you sure? And like the one was like, oh well, I'm gonna get you this big Costco run and do this and that. And I was like, okay, cool, but I can't drive, so I live an hour and a half away. Like, I'm not carrying that. And I was like, really appreciate it, but I was like, don't worry about it. Like, I'm okay. And she shows up like the next week with $100 no frills gift card because she got that out of me. That's the store I go to. And like, so it's been funny like having a few people take care of me like that. And then my mom saw me. She was like terrified, and she was just making a point of like every second day making sure I came over for a meal. Like I was seeing her anyways, but it was always food orientated because she was like, I need to feed my boy.
I had the exact same thing in the first year. The girl I was dating at the time, her mom was a great cook, Italian.
Yeah.
And exact same thing. She would like make dinner, like a big ass lasagna. She'd cut half of it out and give me half.
Yeah.
And they'd like invite me over for dinner all the time, even if the girlfriend wasn't there.
Yeah.
They'd invite me over. They'd be like, "What are you doing for dinner tonight?" I'll be like, "I don't know, probably Mr. Noodles."
Yeah.
And they'd be like, "Okay, just come over."
Yeah. My aunt Lisa, she did a deal with us. She texted me last week or the week before. She's like, "Hey, when would work during the week for you? Like once a week, come over. Like I wouldn't mind having you over for dinner every now and then." I just replied, I was like, "You saw my mom, didn't you?" And she's like, "Yeah."
That's awesome.
But yeah, it's pretty funny. And then like, so yeah, my mom, like just last week I dropped her off at the airport, and when we were talking before we go, she was just like, yeah, I told her, I was like, thanks mom, like, because they're all out of town, so I really miss her and love seeing her whenever she is around. And we just like thanked her for everything and thanked her for the food, because obviously I recognized and acknowledged what she was doing. And she's like, yeah, she's like, I'm just happy to see a little bit of color in your face. She's like, I was just really concerned and worried. I was like, I know you are, but you're always worried about me, mom. And yeah, it's just funny and sweet, because it's funny that it's so noticeable that like most people who have known me for more than a year, like there were points where they've checked in with me to see if you're doing all right. But at the end of the day, like I'm so much happier than I was the year before, where I was making good money and not liking what I was doing. So yeah, it's funny how I can literally just slash my income and my like, in some ways slash my quality of life, but in other ways raise my quality of life. So yeah.
3 years from now, when you're dominating it with the Garbutt Dumas real estate team,
yep,
you should take all those people out for dinner.
I'm like, that's my favorite thing. Like I don't ask for things. I hate asking. I despise asking for things. And when people go out of their way to give me things, like I cannot explain how touched I am. And like I'm not lying to you. I don't know the last time like I've had a good cry. It was probably during the downtime, like with my painting business, and I was out of a relationship and I didn't have anyone to talk to, and I called my parents, and I was pretty broken then. And since then hasn't been much. But like this has been tough. And when that football mom gave me that gift card, and like I thanked her, and she was like, well, like, why are we here if we're not gonna like take care of our family and stuff? And I was standing on the field like as everyone was warming up, and I was ready for some of my boys to walk over, and I had my sunglasses on and my hat, and like I was holding back like a tear because it touched me so much that someone like put in that time and effort to think of me and take care of me. And I would have never asked for it. And I asked her not to. And she insisted. And so like, I'm going to pay them, anyone who does that crap, like I'm going to pay them back tenfold. Like,
it's pretty cool.
Like, it's the thing that I love helping others. I hate asking for it. And when people do go out of their way to do that for me, like, yeah, I really, really appreciate it. I'm not always the best at showing it, but then I'm always very motivated to show it in my own way one day. And like one of my biggest motivations through business and stuff, because I've never been business orientated or whatnot, one of my biggest motivations is I want to be comfortable and successful so that I can give back the world to my parents. Like that is honestly one of my ultimate motivators, is like they're both teachers. They've never had a lot. I didn't find out until a few years ago that they spent most of their life with me in debt. And like none of this was apparent to me, and they literally dedicated and sacrificed everything about themselves for me and my sister, like everything, and just to give us the best life they could. And that is such a big motivator for me, is just to do good enough at something so that I have something significant to give them that's going to make their life a little bit better too.
I'm in the same boat, man. Very fortunate for my upbringing, very fortunate for my crazy awesome parents, and I'm the exact same way.
Yeah.
Looking forward to doing something pretty special for them one day.
Totally.
Okay, Carl, this is a new segment.
Let's go.
We're going to try it out on Adam. If it goes shitty because of Adam, we're going to try it out on the next guest.
If you don't hear this next segment, I sucked.
And Carl, you're going to need to come up with a better name for this segment because my creativity sucked this morning when I put this together. We're going to call it the fire round.
Ooh, let's go.
Carl, come up with something
We
better.
need a sound effect right there.
Okay. I think I have 6 questions. 6 short questions. I want really short answers because, okay, we've touched on this a little bit, but Adam coaches the senior men's football team at New West. They have a very big game coming up this Saturday, so he's got to be at practice in 20 minutes, so we'll let him go in 5. They're in the provincial championship this weekend against Mount Doug.
Yes.
Against Mount Doug. First question. Biggest thing you like about coaching?
Making a difference in youth, a tangible difference in youth's life.
Like it. Something that is always in your pocket.
Cell phone. That's
Mine is chapstick.
oh nice.
Favorite Beyonce song?
Single ladies.
Nice. Mine's irreplaceable.
Yeah.
To the left. To
Yeah,
the left.
that would be a runner up. If I really like went through the list, I might find another one. Was she wasn't in 21 Questions. That was the other girl from Destiny's Child, right? Anyway, moving on.
You know
Moving
way
on.
more about this than I thought, man.
Moving on.
I'm even surprised how quickly you answered that. Your biggest accomplishment to date?
Oh man.
Personal, professional, sports, doesn't matter.
National Manager of the Year in my franchise.
That's pretty
And-
cool.
Yeah.
What is your biggest, craziest goal or dream?
To be signed as a musician.
Really?
Yeah, under a label.
I made that as a joke at the beginning. I didn't know.
Yeah, no, dead serious. Literally every spare second that I have not been coaching football or in real estate, I've been producing music and working on it. And like I am legitimately really happy with 20 produced songs right now. And I have some friends in the industry, and I only started it in February, and I've been blown away with the progress I've taken, and like I've gotten a vocal coach and all sorts of shit. And I know legitimate musicians who are doing well with it, who are giving me the thumbs up. And so I'm just in a creating phase right now and like honing my trade. Next year I want to start taking it somewhere and do something, but I'm just in like a...
Not to take away from Adam.
Yeah.
Future podcast guest
Ooh.
talking about musicians, Flavio Cirillo,
Gonna be a
drummer
good
for
one.
Dallas Smith. He's going to be phenomenal, and I can't wait to get him on here. Also, good guy to talk to about music industry.
Yeah.
Who is your favorite Seahawks player? You can't
used
say
to be
no
John
one-
Ryan. Used to be John Ryan.
What about the new punter?
He's all right too.
Dixon?
Yeah, I don't know his name. Yeah,
Dude,
yeah.
such a beauty, man.
It's how punting should be done. There should be multiple
he
styles of
kicks
punts.
it like a rugby ball.
There's more than one way to punt, and more punters should buy into that.
The other day I was looking at, he doesn't even have a follow through, and he had like a 68-yard punt, and it looks like he's just like flapping his.
Everyone thinks it's like, it's who can punt the furthest and the highest. It's not. It's who can kick the best kick that's going to give you the best chance at winning the game.
Exactly.
Big fan.
I love that guy. He's so funny. Also, our other kicker, absolute beauty. Been in the league 21 years.
Who's that?
Sebastian Janikowski.
Oh, you guys got him?
Yeah.
I'm pretty out of touch right now. That's nice.
He's unreal.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Big
He's the
game-winning
boot.
field goal last
He's
week.
the boot.
Big game. He is bigger than most offensive linemen.
Big time.
He's probably the scariest guy I've ever
He's got
seen.
some weight behind that ball.
Bald, probably like 275.
Yeah.
It looks mean.
All you want in a kicker.
Last fire round question. Is New S going to win the provincial championship on Saturday?
100%.
What's the score going to be?
It'll either be...
No, you get one prediction.
34-10.
All right, there you go. New Est, back-to-back provincial champions. Unreal. Okay, last thing I always do on the podcast is you get to make the final statement. It can be a piece of advice to people thinking about getting into real estate or just starting out. Biggest thing you've learned in the first year, can be completely non-business related.
Either have good mentorship that you're working directly with or that can help you through it and like give you some advice, or have an additional source of income and go it more passively. One of the two. Go all in and have some support around you.
Yeah.
Or be willing to take that big risk, or go dip your toes in and have something else going and get a taste of it. And once you're ready, you can go all in.
I love that. I was not financially prepared at all.
Nope.
And it was an eye-opening experience for me. Yeah. Okay, I know you gotta run.
Cheers.
Guys, thanks so much for listening. Hit me up on Instagram, Denny.Duma. I would love to hear your feedback. Later.
Yep. See ya.